Our first guest is Sean Keighran, and he is the acting president of the powerful Residential Builders Association, taking over from Joe O'Donoghue, which is quite a task. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to have the dialogue.
I see that Joe O'Donoghue is still all over your website, including his famous poems. It's pretty tough to come in behind someone with that kind of charisma and audacity. How are you guys managing?
Well, we understand the situation. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We know where we are right now, and we know how we got here. And there's several time-proven strategies that we have implemented, and we will continue to implement them. We'll give them a modern twist, of course, but we'll go right back to the basics and continuing what we stand for.
What are the basics?
Information learned is information shared. Every step up the ladder you go, you bring 2 or 3 people back up the ladder with you. If you walk into our meeting, you will not see 7 or 8 or 10, whatever the case may be, competing builders. You will see 10 best friends in the room, because we're in a very unique position, and we are our own best friends, and we will create the facility, we will create the environment in which information passes back and forth, and that will empower us.
Now again, the Residential Builders Association, its mission is to create opportunities for its members to build, to own and build, and maybe even manage. Now, but with Joe O'Donoghue, how do you think, in terms of advocacy at City Hall, in terms of the relationships that he had, which were both positive and negative for your association, in my opinion? Generally, he thought they were always positive, and I guess for the most part they were, but he took on people. I mean, he took them straight on, because he was a boxer, wasn't he?
Joe was in your face, and,
right.
and he never disguised anything. He came right at you.
And there were certain people he just despised. And he,
I think it went both
let's say,
ways.
didn't have respect for. How is that going to change with you? Are the enemies of the RBA before the enemies now? Are you turning over a new leaf? Is it a more negotiating group than an adversary group? Are you going to take punches when you have to?
I think let's not make any mistake about it. Fighting is in our genes, and when we're put in a corner, we're going to come out fighting. That's just the way it's always been, and that's the way it has to be. But the very first thing we did when we took over the organization is we went down to City Hall and we introduced ourselves. We walked into the Supervisor Peskins of the world, who, Joe and Rich didn't see eye to eye. We invited the mayor to the grand opening of the Galvin Apartments. He didn't come, but we reached out to those people.
Why didn't the mayor come to the Galvin Apartments opening?
I don't know. The Galvin itself is a major story. Didn't get coverage in the Chronicle. It has the potential to revolutionize the way affordable housing is produced in this town.
I want to get to that, and I'm going to postpone that for a moment. But I'm surprised the mayor didn't show up. The other thing I want to ask you is the policies that you had before as a board, and Joe O'Donoghue advocated for. Are those the same policies now? Are you seeing change in some of those basic policies?
You'll see some minor things changed, but again, I've been coming to these meetings for 20 years. There's other members on the board who have been members for a very long time. We know the path it took to get us to where we are. We haven't forgotten where we came from. If you go back and look at the faces that make up the RBA, the story doesn't start 30 years ago with the formation of the RBA. The story starts in Mexico, in Asia, Eastern European countries, Italy and Ireland. And you had people born into poverty. And it wasn't a question of if they were going to immigrate, it was when they were going to immigrate. And when they immigrated, they arrived in America, they chose San Francisco, they had a change of clothes in one hand and they had $100 in the other pocket. And they know a friend of a friend and they made a contact, they worked their way up the ladder. I'm very proud of the fact that one of our members of the board of directors was actually homeless in Golden Gate Park for about a month. He got a break or two and worked his way up. So we know what it took to work our way up the ladder. We know how it felt coming up the ladder. And in many respects, that's our strongest asset, because that links us to some of these other groups out there
that are trying to,
who are still trying to come up the ladder.
And they're also advocating for the poor. I mean, they taking the eastern neighborhoods, for example, and we're going to get into that first. If you look at your adversaries, like Sue Hester and Calvin Welch, and they were here, they would say they're speaking for the poor.
Yeah.
They're speaking for the small businesses that are there. They are speaking for people who can't afford market rate housing. I mean, that would be, I want to believe that they sincerely have good intentions when they obstruct development, okay? And we know they do. And we know that's happening, and they do it but for a mission. Would you agree with that?
Let's assume that that's why they do it.
What do you think they do it for?
Just to stop housing. I've been at hearings when Sue Hester opposed live-work projects because she said too many people were living there. They were luxurious condominiums. I've been at hearings when she opposed hearings because they said people weren't working there. I've seen her oppose market rate housing, and I've seen her oppose affordable housing. When a woman gets in front of a microphone, in front of public officials, and she says, I will support all affordable housing except when built by the RBA.
She has said that publicly.
She has said that.
And why is that? Why do you, what is that Joe Donahue that she's speaking against? Or is that all of the members, all your contractors and carpenters and people who build housing in San Francisco?
You know, I don't want to speak for her. I don't pretend to speak from her. But you have to understand that we're a group that's pretty, we're out in front of the public eye. We're down at the Planning Commission quite frequently. We're at BBI hearings. We're at the Board of Supervisors. And we become the target of a lot of sometimes undeserved abuse.
Well, but you do build a lot of the housing.
We do.
You build
yes,
a lot
we
of the
do.
smaller, when I say smaller, something less than 1,000 units or 500 units, you generally do the 50 units, 100 units, 150 units.
Yes.
That's your niche there, and those are the kinds of units, the only kinds of units you can really build in San Francisco right now, unless you go into, let's say, down in the Bayshore where there's some open land or industrial land. You're fighting a battle in the eastern neighborhoods right now, and let's not be. I have written an article about that. I have taken them on the whole board because the process seems to be stilted. There were community planning, there were a lot of meetings over 3 years.
It's unbelievable what has happened. If you or I went today and we went to build a deck onto our house or remodel our kitchen, chances are we'd have to notify everybody within a 300-foot radius of our actions, and rightfully so. There's a process and there's a trust built in there that change will not happen without some sort of notification. Our members got a call one day, or I got a call from a member when they saw a little blurb in the Examiner that 64% of the eastern neighborhoods would become affordable. I went down there right away and started learning more about it, and I was shocked at what was going on. It's a resolution that, when interpreted, has cherry-picked key components of the housing element and the general plan and reprioritizing in this resolution. And the net result is it'll be very difficult to build market rate housing, and it will be very difficult to do a lot of things that we're planning on in that eastern neighborhood.
What neighborhoods are these?
The gross boundary would be the Bay Bridge, Candlestick Point, Market Street, and the entire Mission District, and the water on the right. I think it encompasses 7 districts.
Would it include Visitation Valley?
Parts of it.
Would it include the Hunters Point,
Bayview, Showplace Square, the Mission, Central Waterfront,
Dog
South
Patch?
of Market, Dog Patch.
Okay, so this is the prime, the future of the city. Everyone knows it's already happening in Mission Bay, and on King Street, north of the Channel. Anyone down there knows that there's a huge development explosion going on.
Yes.
But it's moving south, and of course along the light rail line, which was intended to be for transit-based housing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, it's not, my concern with it wasn't, at this point at least, not that they haven't got a right to bring these up when they see it, but the board's intervening now prior to the planning department presenting their draft plan.
It's a hijacking of the process, it's a hijacking of the housing element, and a hijacking of the general plan. Now, all acts of terrorism start with a good notion. And let's get something straight. I'm not against affordable housing. I don't think you're against affordable housing. I don't know anybody that's out there is against affordable housing. But you cannot stop all other uses in that district in the name of affordable housing.
Well, it's obviously going to be passed by the board. It's going to be sent over to the planning department. It's going to have a chilling effect on the planning process. What are you going to do in reaction to it?
It was sent to the planning department, and they did not get the recommendation there. We blocked that.
But it's going through the Board of Supervisors as a resolution.
It's back to the Land Use Committee tomorrow.
And then, and by the time this airs, who knows where it will be. But the fact is, the board's going to pass this resolution.
I'm not sure. I think when you sit down and explain all the nuances of this resolution and you explain the implication of this. I mean, we've got a biotech campus down there. We've got that new UC campus. Don't we want research and development around there?
But I'm okay.
Don't we want all these uses down there? This resolution will hamper that.
Well, you know, talking about affordable housing. I mean, you're not against affordable housing. You said that.
Absolutely not.
And tell me, the Galvin Apartments, the one that the mayor did not attend, is an example of affordable housing that you built without HUD money, without federal money. How?
The Galvin Apartments is it represents transition from a hypothetical model that people have talked about for years to a real live living model. 3 people sat down, Supervisor Chris Daly, the Tenderloin Housing Association, and a local developer named Joe Cassidy. And rather than taking the traditional approach of pitting each other's agendas against each other and fighting this out, they respected each other's agendas, and they said, this is what we need to do, this is what you need to do, how can we work together?
So what did you
build? The result was
yeah.
a density bonus to the developer.
Mm-hmm.
He got height and density out of it.
Mm-hmm.
In return, he built 56 units of affordable housing at no cost to the taxpayer.
Is this for sale or for rent?
For rent. Now let me tell you how extraordinary this is. They were mandated to come on at 50% of median income. It worked so well. They voluntarily came in at 35% of median at no cost to the taxpayers.
All right. So why can't the RBA do more of these? Why can't you begin to get involved either as a trade-off or for profit and become much bigger in the nonprofit affordable housing production?
Well, I want to make something clear. We're not interested in building affordable housing.
Why not?
We're only interested in doing it because we see the nonprofit sector failing to do it.
But why don't you go, why, I've always wondered why you haven't taken the lead there, either in partnership with nonprofits or in some other fashion so that you become part of that equation of building affordable housing.
It's a different game. Nonprofits are, it's an industry. They make as much money as we do. Their profit structure is set up differently. When every time they get a certain percentage, I think it's 20% of the cost of the job. The more that job costs, the more money they make.
Okay.
Our agenda is market driven.
Well, of course. But
it's our goal is to keep the costs as low as possible. So it's hard to do both. You know,
were you under the same restrictions they're under with federal ADA and all the other requirements they have to get HUD money?
We didn't need any money. We did it all with our own money at no cost to the taxpayer and voluntarily came in at 35% of median. It took 11 hearings to get this thing approved.
Sean, we're going to have to go now. I wish you the best. I think that you're on the right track, and you've got to solve the problem of becoming major players in building affordable housing, as well as fighting those who want to obstruct planning and development in the eastern neighborhoods. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Stay with us, and we will be right back.